All right, guys, welcome to another Doodles podcast. Cheers to you. Doing it from the BBI. Sorry if there's a little bit of noise going on. We got the generator running so I can have all the power to everything. And we're outside currently at White Bay here, which is Soggy Dollar. I'm looking at it. Actually, if you were to look at the Soggy Dollar live cam, you could probably see us sitting there on the boat. We're doing a Navigar flotilla. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to get right into it here and answer all our patrons' questions. I'll get to it and I'll explain how it works after that. So we have Steve and Aaron. They've been a member since January, so of this year, brand new. Thank you. Says new patron here. Love your channel. We are hoping to retire and live aboard a boat at least half of the year and travel the world. You obviously like Catamaran since you're having one built. Is that the boat you recommend as a live aboard? And if so, why? Well, it's been my experience. Sorry, let me get my mic a little better here. Okay, catamarans are generally more stable especially at anchor, and you don't heel over like a monohull when sailing. It does have some weird characteristics, kind of like a flip-flop thing when you're in certain waves that are a certain amount of speed or a certain distance apart, so it gets a little bit wonky. But I will say, in general, most every woman I've talked to prefers a catamaran over a monohull, and most of the time it's the men that want to go do the sailing and cruise around the world, and they just want to make the ladies happy, so they do it. So they do whatever they can to get the ladies on board to go, and so they choose a catamaran. That being said, for me, for a cat, personally, I would like a 45 to 52, which I'm having a 52-foot build. So I have the Island Spirit 525. Should be finished next month. And we're going to actually be at the Miami Boat Show February 17th. We're going to have a happy hour with Navigar, who is the salespeople for it. And so going to have we're going to do a happy hour and a kind of a Q&A about the Island Spirit 525. So if you'd like to do there's a link down below. Please RSVP so we know how many people are going to show up. So anyway, for me, catamaran 45 to 50 feet, 52, mine's 52, that's fine, is what I would deem a good size for a couple cruising around the world. If you have kids and all that, you want to lean more towards the 50 side. But there are people that do it in a 40. We're on a 42-foot lagoon right now, and that would be just fine. The only reason I say 45 and above is because I like having a proper flybridge on top, and really you only get a proper flybridge at about, sorry, my nose itches there, at about 45 feet and above. So that's what I choose there. That being said, I mean, if you can do like a high quality 60-foot monohull or something like that, that's what I'd love to do too. I mean, like get a nice Hylas or a Passport or a, one of those, high-end, a 60-foot high-end yacht like that's over $2 million though. So, I mean, you're going to pay for it. But, they hold their value and they're pretty nice boats. So that's what I do. So, all right. So I'm answering my patrons' questions. You can become a patron or a channel member. And if you go to patreon.com/sailingdoodles, you can become a patron, and I will answer all your questions in the next Ask Me Anything. All right, so DLA, a member since brand new as well. Have you always sold your previous vessels at a profit or break even? Please describe. Generally, at least broken even, within a few $1,000s of what I had into it. So like the Jeanneau I had in Greece, I think I paid, 57 for it, and I put at least 10 into it, and I sold it for 65. And then the Sea Ray, I've got, I bought it for 60 or close to that, 64 maybe, I can't remember. And I'll have, 80 into it total. And so I'm going to try to sell it for 80. I think I can. And then the Dark Side, I bought it for 200. I put at least 20 into it, and I sold it for 225. I mean, so pretty much breaking even. But I've only had them for, the Jeanneau only 4 months, and then, 6 months, and then, the Hatteras only like a year and a half. So, but I've always kind of broken even. It's about buying the boat. That's the most important thing. Is like, you make your money on a boat, or you break even on a boat when you buy the boat. Don't buy one you got to spend a ton of money on. All right, Larry the Legend, member since January as well. Thank you. What's the perfect makeup of a doodle crew? How many girls, guys, and how many will fit on the new Cat. So I'd say I like having at least 3. I think 3 is a good number. It depends on the size of the boat, because with 2 people, you just don't have enough. I mean, you need 2 hands on the boat, 4 hands, whatever you want to call it. You need somebody driving the boat and somebody handling lines. Or when you're adjusting sails, you generally need kind of 2 people. So having 3, that means you have a 3rd person to film. That being said, I wouldn't mind having 4. Generally it's, me and 2 girls, or it's been me and 3 girls, which is fine too. But it would also be, maybe we would look for a couple, like a guy and a girl, or girl, whatever. We had a girl couple before, who cares? To come help film when we get the new boat. So that's kind of 3 to 4 is generally okay. 2 is fine. I prefer 3 just because it makes the videos better. Michael and Monica, member since May of 21. Thank you. Sponsors, how does that work again? How much do they help? Love you guys. Well, are you talking like high field and precision sales and stuff like that? Okay, so those kind of sponsors, like boat related sponsors, generally, I don't necessarily charge them because I get their equipment for free, which I really love. Like the high field dinghy, I love that thing. And so it's a pretty expensive dinghy. For the one I get, it's all kitted out and everything's really nice. And so, yeah, I mean, technically, I could maybe be a little stingy and charge them maybe, but I don't care, whatever. They helped me out early on and gave me a pretty expensive dinghy when we weren't as big. And now they're doing it again. And so I'm not worried about it. And then same with precision sales. They helped me out when I was pretty young and didn't have a whole lot. And they're going to be doing the sales for our new boat. And, we're getting, those sales, all the stuff will be $20,000, $25,000. So, having that is fine. I'm okay with just doing that. And then are you talking like sponsors like Babbel and all that? Yeah, I mean, that's can be a significant portion of income. So that's why we do it. All right. Bill asks, he's a member since September. Thank you. I'm a loyal viewer since 2018. Well, thank you for becoming a patron. Back before Laura on the boat, permanently anyway. What do you think about the Trimaran La Vagabond is sailing? I don't think it's working out. What do you think? Sales are very big. I never thought it was a great idea from the beginning. I understand why, because Riley really loves the actual sailing aspect of cruising. He really loves going fast and he loves sailing, right? I mean, I like sailing, but it's more of a means to an end to be able to go here to White Bay and hang out, you know what I mean? And so they put the sailing first over the cruising aspect, I guess you say. And that's the kind of thing I think they're going to have a problem with, is because they normally have the 2 kids, the 2 adults, plus then they always have some kind of crew. And as my understanding, that Trimaran is only 60 feet, or 60 feet, even though it is 60 feet, it only has 2 cabins. And it's kind of a lot to handle for sailing. So, he kind of needs crew for there. And so I just don't know how that's going to work out for him. But I wish him the best. I wouldn't do it. But all right, Michael and Monica, cold beer, ice, love it, cold. Is that an issue on the boat? Generally speaking, no. My last boat had my Hatteras had an ice maker, so it was always nice having ice. I mean, that's what and then before that, I just had one of those tabletop ice makers. So say we're gonna run the generator or make some ice, it'll make ice and then take it out, put it in a bag, put it in the freezer, and then you have ice, or just put it in the cooler, or just get a designated ice maker or something like that that keeps it cold. Or you can always use the little, the little trays and put it in the freezer. So no, I mean, it depends on where you are, but so on the Sea Ray, we don't have an ice maker, but I have it's not a Yeti, but it's one of those, it's a Yeti knockoff, and it has, it'll keep ice for 4 days, with beer and all that stuff in it. And so every 4 days, I just go get 2 or 3 bags of ice, at the marina, or there's always some kind of shop nearby or something like that, and get ice. And then I have ice for 3 or 4 days. So it's not been too big a deal. Robert Seiko, member since September. Thank you. Can you please settle the most important question? Are Amanda's boobies natural? Yes, they are. There was a reply to that. She's answered that in a previous podcast, and yes, they are. Darren says that. He's a member since March. Thank you, sir. Eric says he's a member since August of 22. I have no questions, my dude. Enjoy. Thank you. Michael and Monica, again, I've heard it's dangerous in the Bahamas more than normal. Is that true? Well, so there was a, what do they call that? The State Department put out like a warning like for the Bahamas, but that's mostly just Nassau. Nassau is really the only place. I mean, maybe there's some in Freeport, but Nassau is really the only place where you're going to have crime like that. You get out in the Abacos or the Exumas and places like that, and you're fine. There's no danger there. It's really just Nassau. That's where they have the gangs and stuff like that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much unless you're going to Nassau, and then you're probably okay. Just stay in the tourist areas and be vigilant, you know. SP Rupert, member since February of 2020. Thank you. How has the boat industry changed over the last few years? Have you found it more difficult to get insurance on boats? Does your past incident record negatively affect your premium? Well, I never actually filed an incident, so no. Yeah, so ever since the hurricanes in 2017 that wiped out basically all the moorings and all the boats in the BVI and St. Martin and all that, insurance has gone up, and they've actually made it somewhat more difficult to get insurance in general. And I especially think that's boats. I've always heard though, and it was true in my experience with, man, there's a lot of swell coming in here, maybe. Anyway, so maybe it's been that American registered boats are more expensive to register than, like I bought the boat in Greece and it was pretty cheap to register. And then like my Sea Ray, I've got it insured for like 75,000 or something like that, and my premium was like 2,400 for the year, so it's not terrible. You just gotta shop around. Domestic boat insurance is relatively easy to get, not too crazy, but like I did have a problem getting insurance in the Bahamas. I had to go through several different brokers to find somebody that would insure me in the Bahamas, so it's not always easy. Yeah, it's kind of a pain, but yeah. All right, John Turner, member since September. Just wondering why you prepare the possibility of your lithium batteries catching fire. How I prepare catching fire at sea. Fire suppression at sea has always been a threat to prepare for, and there's a couple of replies. Darren says there's no real solution. Have a look at when EV fires go up. The department just lets them burn themselves out. If lithium batteries on a boat go up, then the boat burns to the waterline, probably below the waterline, honestly. I'm an ex-avionics technician, and I've contacted several boat manufacturers, and they have no solution. I've suggested an ejectable unit. That always is the least, that way at least the boat is salvageable. And John replied, I'm very aware of the answer to my question. If these Tesla's batteries perform as well as they have been, they will catch fire and the boat will burn to the waterline. I think you should invest heavily in a life raft. Yeah, I mean, basically, you're right. If the lithium batteries catch on fire, I mean, you're done. You can't put the fire out because they create their own oxygen when they burn. And yeah, I would, yeah, you just have to have a life raft, but I think the positive outweighs the benefit, the negative as far as like just battery capacity and longevity and use. Yes, when lithium batteries first came out, they did catch fire a lot. Now there's very few lithium batteries that catch on fire that don't have some kind of mechanical defect or cause. Yeah, if a Tesla crashes and the battery pack is made vulnerable, so impacted, whatever, then yeah, you could have some fire. But I mean, like, how hard you'd have to crash a boat to like mess up the battery, like physically damage the batteries. So I think it's pretty safe. But yeah, you just have to have a life raft and insurance. Chris, member since 20 September. Have you seen moorings failure on the Wandering Hillbilly YouTube channel? I've heard a lot about it. I haven't watched it. Do you always check your moorings, and do you often see bad moorings? I have checked moorings before, especially if I'm in an area where I am a little dubious on how well they've been maintained. Like here in the BVI, generally not. I think I haven't watched the video. I don't know what beach he was on when his mooring broke. I don't know. I check them when I suspect they're not well maintained. I do check them, and I've seen some that like the mooring block was way too small, but I don't think it was meant for a big boat. I think it was meant for more like a center console or something like that. So yeah. What's the best way to learn to sail? That's from Patrick, member since May. Well, you know, the Sailing Doodle Sailing School. Go to sailingdoodles.com, and I do have a 6-hour course on how to sail. And then if you like that course, you can actually get the credit for what you spent on that course with Island Spirit. They have a 0 to Hero class in Thailand where you can go learn to sail. So I would recommend doing something like that, but it takes some lessons. You know, ASA in the US, or, you know, RYA in Europe, or IYT, all that stuff, and take some lessons. David Haney, member since September. What's the largest YouTube check you've ever gotten? What's the largest monthly support you've ever received from both Patreon and channel memberships? You work your ass off producing great content and building a great channel, and people want to know if building a YouTube channel and business has good financial worth if someone works as hard as you do. What's the most you receive in sponsorship deals you've ever had? I don't want to get too much into money. I mean, in general, like YouTube ad revenue is down over the last couple of years. I mean, it spiked in 2021, and it's come down over the last couple of years. But I mean, it's still better than any real job, even if it didn't make as much money. Or it didn't make enough to whatever. I mean, it's still better than a real job. So yeah. But I mean, you know, some of those guys are making millions, you know. I mean, like the Mr. Beast that get, you know, 1 billion views a month. Those guys are making so much money. It's crazy. Michael and Monica again. Does the inboard food and drink typically work out on the flotilla? How does the inboard food? Well, mostly we just do breakfast on the boat, and we'll do about half the lunches on the boat, and the other half, you know, so half the time we're actually sailing during lunch, and so we'll eat lunch on the boat. Sometimes, like we're here now, we got here before lunch, so after this podcast, we're going to go up to Soggy Dollar, actually Hendo's hideout, and have lunch. And then most dinners are on shore, kind of a social thing. So, and they ask again, any plans to visit St. Martin or St. Bart's? Yeah, I've done it several times. St. Martin is like my favorite island in the Caribbean. That's the one island I could live on. St. Bart's is pretty, but very expensive. You know, worth a stop, but don't spend much time there. Lance, a member since December of 21. Thank you. They always say don't buy the first model of a new car. Let them work the bugs out. Does the same apply to hulls of every new boat? Do you have worries? Well, generally they say don't buy hull number 1, which is what I'm getting. But I know the company. I know they'll make any defects worth it. I know they'll make it right. So, you know, I've been over there to their factory multiple times during the build and have seen it from the inside out. So I know the quality that's going into it. I think it's a pretty good boat. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, Glenn Goodall, you guys, how's it going? Member since March of 22. Well, what can I ask your great couple? Sorry. Anyway, Amanda is a beauty. You're not too bad looking, as a ruffled sea dogs go. Thank you. No, we were kidding. Both look great together. In fact, Bobby looks quite weird. Thank you. I've been working out a lot lately. Question: would Amanda ever do a bikini photo shoot, say on a boat or on the beach? She would nail it. Yeah, actually, you can check out her Patreon, Amanda Zachary, Zakri, and she does have some bikini photo shoots on there. Go check her out. An added thought, my wife has done a bikini shoot while on Holiday Beach. Yep, we've done several of those where she posted videos. So I loved it. She is not a professional model, and I thought the bikinis a bit micro, more for the bedroom, not for the beach. But there was a lot of laughter, and always make sure they are a reputable company that's well known. If you feel uncomfortable, stop. I hear you. Well, I mean, it's amazing how small the bikinis are getting these days. So yeah, I've actually had to edit around them because some of them are just too small to put on YouTube. But yeah, we've done several. You can check her stuff out online. All right, Curtis, member since January. Last time I asked Amanda about Bobby made you want to jump his bones. Now for Bobby, why is Amanda your dream girl besides her smoking hot looks? And when do we put a ring on her? Well, who knows about that? But yeah, no, she, I mean, number one, she is beautiful and she's very easy to get along with, and we do get along really well. But she also kind of understands how the marketing game works in YouTube and how it all does. So everything clicks very well. So yeah, she's just a good fit in all the different ways. Will Miller, member since October of 21. Thank you. Hey, Bobby, any plans to come back to Europe? Would love to catch you and Amanda at a meetup in mainland Europe or London. We did a meetup in London a long time ago. That's been 5 or 6 years. We are planning a flotilla in Croatia this summer. So we'll be in Europe. I don't know exactly the dates yet for that, but we'll probably be setting it up soon. So yes, we will have a flotilla in Croatia. Be on the lookout. I will post about it, and you guys, especially the patrons, will get first crack at signing up for the flotilla. So thank you for being a patron. You get on these flotillas. I always announce it to patrons about a week before it goes public to everybody else, so that the patrons get first crack at it, and channel members. And then of course release it to everybody else. And then we also do a drawing for a patron to join us on this flotilla. We didn't do a drawing because we ended up being put on this boat, which is a Lagoon 42 called Blue Heron, and I know the owners of that from meeting them at Navigar, so I invited them to come on their own boat and be part of the flotilla. So it's not well. Cecil Lee, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, October 20. You've been a long time supporter there in Singapore. Thank you, Cecil. When you install a water maker on your boat, how do you attach it to the inside of the hull? Do you epoxy it to the inside of the boat? Do you drill holes in the hull and attach it with screws? What other methods might be used to decide which method to use? Thanks. Well, yeah, so, I mean, you do have to have two through holes on your boat. You have one on the bottom of the hull, and you put a through hole fitting on it, and it's got a valve that you can open and close to shut it off if you need to. And that takes raw seawater, takes it to the water maker, and then generally you don't attach the water maker to the hull. You'll have some kind of like subframe in there that you attach it to, and so you don't drill holes through the hull to do that. And then you will have another exit, and this one is generally above the water line. It's the brine water bypass, so it takes all the seawater or the brine stuff and it bypasses it out. And so you have to have two holes in your boat for that. But yeah, that's how that works. Alfred Windler, member since 2018. Wow, the longest one yet today. Thank you. What brand of sails will be on the new boat? Precision Sails. I think you go to precisionsales.com. They have handled all the sails on my boat since basically, well, season 2. So kind of nice. I've always had a really good relationship with them. Brett Fields, what's up, man? Member since 17. I spoke too soon. He's been member since February 17. I only started the channel in like November. So like 3 months in, he was a supporter. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brett. It's been a long sail so far. When you started the channel, did you have any idea it would become so big and obviously a job? Did you have any goals or a business plan for the Sailing Doodles at first, or just winging it? Besides regrets or lowest points so far, the biggest accomplishments and highs, what do you see yourself in 5 years? Salute. Well, I didn't think it'd get as big as it did, but I mean, because there wasn't 7 years ago when I started this, 8 years ago almost, I mean, it wasn't the same market on YouTube as it is now. I mean, you could make money on YouTube, but barely. Now you can make an actual career out of it. So it's a different story there. But I did from the very beginning, and I think that's why Sailing Doodles has prospered and done well compared to other sailing channels that started at the same time or even before, is because I took it as a job from day one. I mean, like I did 1 video a week for first year, and then since then, I've done 2 videos a week, and without fail, I don't miss. There's been a couple times when I've only done 1 video a week because I just was running low on content and we had to go film. But yeah, I mean, it's a job, and I treat it as such. Like I reinvest everything in the company, you know, buying new camera gear or new equipment to make better quality production and all that. So biggest regrets, I mean, not starting sooner. I mean, if I had started like when Le Vagabond did 2 years before me, then I mean, because if you look at, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but like Le Vagabond started 2 years before I did. They're at 1.9 million subscribers, and I think Dello started 2 or 3 years before I did, and they're at almost 900,000 subscribers. We're at 640,000 subscribers, and we actually have the second most. We have like almost 400 million views. The only channel that has any more views than us is Le Vagabond with 420 million, and like the next channel is like Delos, and they're like 240 to our almost 400. So like we just, you know, work pretty hard at it. But if I had started 2 years before, I'd probably have 1.5 million subscribers or be about the same level as the Vagabond. So I just wish I had started earlier. That's the main thing. And I guess the biggest accomplishment was when I think we reached 400 patrons. That was kind of our break-even point, like where we could afford, like, still eating rice and beans. But when we got 400 patrons was when we were able to live on our earnings. But I mean, when I say live on our earnings, we were still eating Spam and, like, not staying in marinas and all that. So it was still a very Spartan life there. But yeah, so those would be the two things there. That was probably it. All right, Fred Bates, member since January. How many gallons of fuel, water, holding tanks are on your new Cat? Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I think it was like, I want to say 150 gallons of fuel, something like that. And water, I think it was about the same maybe. I don't know offhand. I'd have to look. Do you have any plans to get engaged? No plans yet, so we'll see. Bob Ruff, member since May of 22. Thank you. Definitely want to know when you and Amanda enter San Diego Bay next. Would like to meet you guys over happy hour. All right, we'll do it. I don't know when, but yeah, sounds good to me. Aaron Bradley, member since December of 22. Thank you. Is Dakota single? I believe she is currently single. So yeah. Scott Collar, member since December. So why is Amanda covered with thumb bruises head to toe, slippery when wet? Yeah, we kind of joke about it all the time. People think I'm beating her or something. No, it's just she bruises kind of easy, and she's getting darker. But she was extremely pale when she first joined me on the boat, and it's because, I don't know, just very pale. And so, I mean, it's boat life, man. You're always stubbing your toe. You're always banging something. You're always bruising yourself. And so that's just it. I mean, like, yeah, nobody's beating her. Nobody's doing anything. It's boat life. William Resch, member since October of 21. Thank you. Hey, Bobby, always enjoy these Ask Me Anything podcasts. I actually learn a lot from them and your firsthand experiences. So thank you. Admittedly, very safety conscious of things in general, but could you explain any recommendations, safety measures to prevent going overboard, clipping in, having trailing lifelines, etc.? I noticed you go up the mast when underway and most often don't have a life jacket on. Is that preference, experience, or other? Thanks in advance. Well, going up the mast, not having a life jacket on, I wouldn't wear one even if going up the mast, because number one, you're clipped in when you're going up the mast, generally speaking. I mean, I guess you could go up to the sail bag and not do it, but if you're going up the mast to do something, like you're in a bosun chair going up, and your life jacket would just catch on something. So I wouldn't. I mean, hey, I'm not a professional. This is not. Don't take this as advice. This is what I do. You can have jack lines, so you can, if you're doing an open ocean passing, crossing, then yeah, I mean, I normally do that. Put a jack line. It's a line that runs on a Cat. You do it down each hole. On a monohull, you just run one, or I guess you could run each side, whatever. And it's a line connected to the forward and the middle part of the boat, and then you have your life jacket on that has clips. Then you clip into that so that if you do go overboard, it'll hurt, but you're not going to be left behind. When we're just sailing around here, day sailing, if it's not bad weather, we don't bother with any of that stuff. But as far as life jackets when underway, like on an open ocean crossing, basically what I tell everybody is at night, if you leave the cockpit, you're wearing a life jacket with a light. And I always put AIS transponder on my life jackets. So if you're going up there to work on something on deck and you got to get up there and you're leaving the cockpit, you're wearing a life jacket that has that on there. Because if you go overboard at night, if you don't have that on, you're dead. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I know people that every time the boat's moving, they're putting life jackets on everybody on board. We don't really do that. It's just a personal preference. I recommend you consult your own person before taking any of my advice. Anyway, Joshua Rector, member since October of 22. Why get the Island Spirit over the Lagoon, Bali, Fontaine Pajot? Is it all about the electric option? How do you think electric would do for charter? I'm considering buying and putting into charter with Navigar. Well, so with Island Spirit, I've known the guys I've known the owners of that since basically in between season 1 and 2. I went to Thailand just to screw around, and then met with the owner there about talking about buying boats, and they were still building some new models. But anyway, started doing some videos with them, and we had a long time relationship with them. So, and I've been over to their factory several times, and so I think they make a quality boat. I didn't like the other models. They had a 38 and a 41. Just didn't really care for them that much. I mean, they're good charter boats, like for day charter stuff, but like a liveaboard, I didn't really like the layout. So there was that. And honestly, it's about, I mean, I do think the Island Spirit is a good quality boat, and I think the electric is a good option. And I think the electric hybrid thing that Island Spirit is doing is the future of boats. I really do. I think it's going to be, why have 3 internal combustion engines on the boat with all that maintenance and all that? I mean, like internal combustion engines waste, I forget the exact percentage of their power with heat, right? Whereas electric motors are much more efficient. So if you can just have one internal combustion engine, which is your generator that can charge all the batteries and run the motors and all that, it's much more efficient, less maintenance on the fuel oil changes and all the other overall parts, water, impellers and all that stuff, a lot less stuff to do. And it's a much more simple system. And if your electric motor goes out, it's a real easy swap. I mean, and those electric motors are considerably cheaper. Like a 52-foot Cat, you would need probably 75 or 100 horsepower Yanmars on them. And maybe you get away with 57s, but it's probably more like a 75 horsepower. And those are, to replace one of those is 30, 40 grand. So I think the electric motors are a lot cheaper. And then, so also it's just, Island Spirit was willing to do a deal with me. And so the major manufacturers like the Fountaine Pajots and the Lagoons, they have like a 2-year wait list to buy a boat. So, they've never done any brand deals with any YouTubers. And if you look at the only companies that have done deals with YouTubers, they've all been kind of boutique or smaller builders that need to get their name noticed. So like Fountaine Pajot, Lagoon, all that, they just have no interest in it because, why would they? They already have a wait list 2 years long. So it's that. But I really like the design of the Island Spirit. I think it's taken, so the different part of the design is my understanding, is that Island Spirit and Navigar, I don't exactly know how they connected. I think it was through the charter network. And so Navigar goes to, say, Lagoon and says, we really like your boats, but we wish you would change this, this, and this. And Lagoon's like, no, it's our boat. We do it the way we want it. Whereas, Navigar's been in the charter business now for quite a while, and they get feedback from all their clients. Like, I wish it had a full-size refrigerator. I wish it had a door in the front. I wish it had a Flybridge. I wish it had all this other stuff. And so Island Spirit and Navigar are kind of like, all right, well, what all do we need to put in here? Like, I wish it had a forward seating area so we can hang out, Like the Lagoon 460 or the 420, it has a little pad up there, but it'd be so much nicer if it had seating. And there's plenty of room for a seating area on the deck, on top of the bridge up there. They don't do it either. And it's just kind of like, honestly, I think a lot of that with the legacy manufacturers is just unwillingness to change. And you do see some of the newer brands or more hungry brands like the Bollies and the Leopards. They've done a fantastic job with their design. The Bollies, in my opinion, they have some quality issues, but their design is great. I don't know that I necessarily like the whole no trampoline thing on the Bolly, but everything else on it is great. And same with Leopard. They've really come a long way just in the few years. In the last 10 years, the design on the Leopards has changed considerably, and it's much better in my opinion. So there's that. That's what. So if you do end up wanting to buy one and put it in charter, please say you saw it on Sailing Doodles. That helps me out. So guys, appreciate it. Steve Robinson, I remember since February of 21. I do maintenance Mondays, watching you process through the issues of was then an older boat. It reminded me of when you had the fiberglass repaired the last episode. You drifted away from that over time because there was other responses. Or why? Okay, you drifted away. Was this because of responses to it, or was it something you no longer needed to use footage-wise? Yeah, I don't know. Those videos just don't do as well. I think they are great to the loyal fan base, but they don't bring in new views. I would like to start doing some more of those. But been bouncing around on other boats for a while. So when I get on my own boat full time, maybe you'll see some more of that. But hopefully it's a brand new boat, so I won't need to do too many maintenance Mondays. But it's a boat, it's always doing something. But we'll see how it goes. All right, last question. James Donner, member since March of 21. Thank you. Have you run into the dark side since being there? I missed that boat. No, it is in the west coast of Florida. I don't want to say exactly where for his privacy. But no, I haven't seen it yet. But I know he's done a lot of upgrades to it and everything, and that's kind of his little man cave. So I know it's doing well, the guy that bought it. So, but all right, guys, thank you for all your questions, and glad I can help you get them answered there. Hopefully, give us a like and a subscribe to the podcast if you're not already. Please check it out on wherever you get your audio podcast and give it a thumbs up, a star, or a review, wherever, so it can grow on the audio side of things. And if you would like your questions answered on the next podcast, go to patreon.com/sailingdoodles. And you can get your questions answered. I think the girls are doing a little photo shoot out on the bow, which I need to take part in. So thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next video.